Recording in
evening.
progress.
In progress. Good evening. Time being 7 o'clock, I call the November 1st, 2023 meeting of the Franklin Town Council to order. Please pause for a moment of silence. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Announcements from the chair. All citizens are now welcome to attend public board and committee meetings in person. Meetings are live streamed by Franklin TV and shown on Comcast Channel 9 and Verizon Channel 29. In an effort to maximize citizen engagement opportunities, citizens will be able to continue to participate remotely via phone, or you may click the Zoom link that is on the posted agenda and on the town's website. The phone number is 929-205-6099 and enter the meeting ID, which is 875-7019-7750, and then you need to hit the pound sign. Once again, the Zoom ID is 875-7019-7750 pound. If residents are just interested in watching the meeting, it will also be live streamed by Franklin TV. Next item on the agenda, citizens' comments. Citizens are welcome to express their views for up to 3 minutes on a matter that is not on the agenda. The council will not engage in a dialogue on a matter raised during citizens' comments. The town council will give remarks appropriate consideration and may ask the town administrator to review the matter. Is there anyone in council chambers that would like to speak on an item not on tonight's agenda? Absolutely. Our
Thank you.
illustrious town
Gee,
clerk.
Steve's not here to fix the microphone tonight.
He set it up for you beforehand. It's
Oh,
perfect
good.
height.
Yeah,
It is, it is.
Jamie took care of that for you.
What a guy. Thank you. My name is Nancy Danello, and I'm your town clerk, and I'm here to briefly discuss the elections. We're almost there. One down, one to go. Okay, so the Tri-County, as you all know, was successful here in Franklin with a total of 1,645 voters casting their vote. That represents 6% of total voters in town. So total yes votes were 1,329, total no's were 316. I want to thank everybody who came out to vote. Next is the biennial town election. Today was the last day to request a vote by mail ballot, but you can still come into the town clerk's office and vote absentee in person until noontime on November 6th. All of the candidates, I just want you to make sure that you adhere to the 150-foot rule, and I'm sure you all will. And please be sure not to block the veterans and the handicap parking, okay? And I just want to wish you all good luck. And I will see you on Tuesday, bright and early, 6 a.m. Glenn, I'm sure I'll see you 4 a.m.?
2 or 4, something around.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Nancy. Is there anyone else in council chambers that would like to speak on an item not on tonight's agenda?
I would.
Please, come forward. Just name and address, please.
Good evening. Maureen Sullivan, resident at 871 King Street, also owner at 553 Washington Street. Terrible, terrible corner, everybody knows about it. Financial Park, 100 and 200. They have a proposed plan in place, and it looks like Every time I go there, they act like I'm not in the room. This is an absolute no. They're rushing things. They're saying, everybody get together before next Monday because Tuesday's the election. Only 4 can vote if it's after Tuesday. This is being rushed. This is an absolute no. It's a nightmare. That is not, we're not gonna take down digital and put in 2 more trucking companies that are gonna house some 380 more trucks a day. Absolutely not. It's not gonna happen. So, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in council chambers that would like to speak on an item not on tonight's agenda? Seeing none, is there anyone out there in Zoom land that would like to speak on an item not on tonight's agenda? I don't see anyone. Do you, Amy? Okay, moving on. We have some minutes to approve. I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes from September 20th, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion, additions, deletions. Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I now entertain a motion to approve the minutes from October 11th, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion, additions, deletions. Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Proclamations and recognitions, we have none scheduled this evening. Appointments, we have a few. The first set of appointments are 2023 election workers. Clerk will read the appointment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The following list are election workers, November 7, 2023. There are 46 workers, 8 wardens, 54 total. The names are Ann Basanti, Jean Bazzani, Joyce Adams, Phyllis Malcolm, Mary Ellen Fico, Martha Pepe, Joanne Mercer, Roberta Doherty, Sharon Lindstrom, Elaine Tolman, Steve Schulthesis, William Lee, Kevin Kearns, Elisa Checkaway, Sharon Filosa, Mary Kinney, Denise Sear, Steve Cook, Betty Cook, Gil Martinez, Marisa O'Donnell, Elizabeth McMillan, Jim Santoro, John Heiss, Patty Wiley, Denise Brown, Paula Coughlin, Maureen Malloy, Gillaire, Mary Harrigan, Sue Cass, Colin Cass, Deirdre Donovan, Diane Lind, Tony Smith, Kathleen Hamlin, Linda Kelly, Mary Harrigan, Michael Brown, Diana Awanchuk, Jan DiLosandro, Marion Lanati, Steve Cook, Leslie McCaffrey, Lois D'Amico, Pam Gateway, and the wardens are Carl Cedarquist, Mary Beth DeRico, Sandy Galbowski, Jan Jewett, Barbara Kelly, Joanne Shanahan, Andrea Saluglia, and Karen Kearns. The town clerk has submitted names attached hereto on Exhibit 1 to be appointed as election workers for the upcoming 2023. This is a motion to appoint the persons who were named in Exhibit 1 as election workers as requested by the town clerk.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion?
All set?
Any further discussion?
I've read 300 of them this week. Used to.
Seeing no further discussion, the vote will come on the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next appointment is Conservation Commission, Roger Trahan. Clerk will read the appointment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is an appointment to the Conservation Commission for Roger Trahan of 1 Green Street, Franklin, Mass. 02038. Town Administrator has recommended the appointment of Roger Trahan to serve as a member of the Conservation Commission with the term to expire on June 30th, 2026. This is a motion to ratify the appointment by the town administrator of Roger Trahan to serve as a member of the Conservation Commission.
Second.
Motion and a second. Jamie?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chairman, I just want to congratulate Roger. There's actually about a half dozen folks that applied for the Conservation Commission, so I asked the Conservation Commission for some help. And when we have these scenarios, we usually go ask them for their opinion to get their advice. They held some public hearings on it a few meetings ago, and then they recommended to me to forward Roger on to the council. So thank you very much, Roger, for stepping up to the plate. He's been on the AgCom for years. I think everybody in town knows him well, and he'll serve the Conservation Commission very well. He's over there if people have any questions for him.
Thank you, Jamie. Questions or comments from the council? Councilor Hamblin?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through the chair, it's actually just a comment. I'd like to thank Roger for for all of his years that he spent on the Agricultural Commission. And he has been the chair recently as well. And so thank you, Roger. I know you'll do okay with the Conservation Commission, but, but I know you really want to do that, so enjoy that.
that's right.
I'm really happy for you. And we need more people to apply for the AgCom, so
Yeah.
if anybody out there wants to do that, fill out the volunteer form. But thank you, Roger. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Hamblin. Any other questions or comments? Roger, anything you'd like to add? All I'll say is,
We all
you know,
know.
under that roof that you live in, there's a lot of giving of time
Yeah.
to the community. So,
Yeah.
thank you once again for stepping forward. And for all the election volunteers, thank you as well for stepping forward and volunteering of your time. Okay, next up is,
Are we gonna vote?
We
have to
oh, I'm
vote on
sorry.
it.
We have to
vote on
vote.
Oh, you can't leave the AgCom. You gotta
Not
stay.
yet.
Not yet. Okay, seeing no further discussion, the vote will come on the motion to approve Roger Trahan to the Conservation Commission. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next item is swearing in of some new firefighters and paramedics in the fire department. Jim, Deputy Chief Glitch is here.
Just you or both?
Both of you?
Oh, okay.
Good evening, Deputy Chief James Klitsch. Through the chair, I'd like to thank everybody for allowing us to be here this evening on the occasion of our 4 new firefighters being hired. So on behalf of Chief McLaughlin and the entire department, we would just like to thank the council, the finance committee, the town administration, everybody that's involved in the hiring process to allow us to get to this point to actually fill some slots from retirement and actually have a little bit of new growth within the department. So with that, we'd also, of course, like to thank the public and the citizens for putting their trust in us each and every day that we actually come into work. And with that, turn this over to Deputy Bob Berry, who's going to introduce our new members.
Thanks, Jim.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the Town Council. Our first firefighter tonight is Mr. Kenneth Gotnor. He started with the department in September. He holds an associate's degree in fire science. He previously worked 5 years at the Blackstone Fire Department and 1 year at the Medway Fire Department. He is joined tonight by his father, Lieutenant Ken Gotnor of the Blackstone Fire Department, Mother Mary Ellen Gotnor, and his girlfriend Sarah DeWolf. Our next firefighter is Obadu Tiklia. He started in September. He holds a bachelor's in computer science. He graduated from the Mass Fire Academy in 2009. He graduated from the Mass Bay Community College with a paramedic certification. He previously worked as a call firefighter starting in 2005, and again moving to a full-time capacity in 2007, first with the Charlton Fire Department, then the Auburn Fire Department. He has a couple family members in attendance tonight. His wife Anna, his children Andrew and Anna Sophia. Next up, we have Christopher Rose. He started in September as well. He's a graduate of Suffolk University. He previously worked for Pro EMS in Cambridge. He has his parents here tonight, Mary and David Rose. Last up, we have our newest firefighter, starting with us here in November, Douglas Jasper. He holds a bachelor's in marketing from Coastal Carolina, an associate's in paramedicine from Mass Bay Community College. He previously worked 3 years in EMS as an EMT and paramedic at Cataldo Ambulance. And his girlfriend, Laura Keenan, is here tonight.
Hi, gentlemen, congratulations. I'm going to ask you all to raise your right hand, and you're going to repeat after me, okay? I, Kenneth Cottonwa,
I, Kenneth Conwell,
I, Ovidio Ticlia,
I, Ovidio Ticlia,
I, Christopher Rose,
I, Christopher Rose,
I, Douglas Jasper,
I, Douglas Jasper,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to faithfully execute the duties
to faithfully execute the duties
as a firefighter and paramedic
as a firefighter and paramedic
for the town of Franklin,
for the town of Franklin,
with respect,
with respect,
integrity,
integrity,
and excellence,
and excellence,
and to uphold the mission of the department,
and to uphold the mission of the department,
the Constitution of the United States of America,
the Constitution of the United States of America,
the state of Massachusetts,
the state of Massachusetts,
and the laws and ordinances of the town of Franklin.
and the laws and ordinances of the town of Franklin.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
All right, firefighter Cottonmore will be pinned by his girlfriend, Sarah DeWolf. Firefighter Ticlia will be pinned by his wife, Anna.
You guys come up. Sarah? Come on.
Give him a big hug.
Firefighter Rose will be pinned by his mother, Mary. And lastly, firefighter Jasper will be pinned by his girlfriend, Laura Keenan.
Congratulations. Congratulations. Welcome aboard.
Okay, we'll take a 2-minute recess just to allow for an easy exit, so Paul Mola doesn't make a lot of noise.
Yeah.
Recording stopped.
Falling. I think maybe Chuck would be the one.
Clicker.
Clicker.
I haven't heard anyone call it a clicker in a long time.
C-L-I-C-K-A.
Jamie,
Okay, I call the November 1st.
Recording in
meeting of the
progress.
Franklin Town Council back to order. Next item on the agenda is no public hearings, no license transactions, presentations and discussions, town charter presentation. Our town administrator, Mr. Helen, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I'm waiting for this to load up on the screen.
Technologically challenged? On occasion.
Not too bad, although it was up earlier, and I'm wondering what,
Wrong remote,
anyways.
one clicker.
If she wants, that works.
We got the paramedics outside if we need to,
Oh, well, if this doesn't work, I might need them.
yeah.
At least we got the heat working.
I know.
That's a good thing.
I think so.
It usually works in the summer.
but it's not working with the new internal rolling. It's freezing in there today.
Obviously.
She called and she said that, they said they're gonna come out and check it, but they hadn't come yet.
Tell her to put a sweater on.
Well, this is very,
Salted.
I tease.
oh, we could.
I tease my Debbie.
Feel like I'm at a master plan committee.
No need for 911.
Yeah.
Well, they're gone anyway, so I
The
wouldn't have had
paramedics
to
have
come.
left the building.
All right.
Okay, Jamie, please.
So through Mr. Chairman, through the council, I know this has been long overdue for a few years now. I think a lot of folks in town have just kind of wondered about the town charter and have wondered kind of, you know, how do you change the town charter? I think there's been discussions peripherally about some issues that maybe people have questioned about it, looking back at old reports. So I'm gonna give a very short slideshow. The town attorney is with us. He'll probably answer most of the questions. And then in a little bit, as the discussion goes on, I just want to also mention a great colleague of mine, both Amy and I, is Mike Ward, who runs the UMass Boston Collins Center, is gonna hop on. And if people have statewide questions relating to town charters, it's a very fascinating topic. I could talk about it all night, but we won't. But he's going to hop on. The Collins Center is the de facto and really one of the big entities in Massachusetts who work with cities and towns on town charters. They're kind of the experts, if you will, statewide. They've worked with a lot of communities on these. They're very familiar with Franklin's. And he'll be hopping on hopefully in a little while to give us a little support if needed. You gotta be kidding me. This is a little more difficult. What the? Oh. Okay, so the first slide. I'm just gonna go through something that I know Councilor Pellegrini, Councilor Mercer, Councilor DeLorco, a lot of folks have been around for a lot of years and they know about this history. I'm not gonna go through every historical moment in the town charter's history. I'm just doing the big milestones. For folks who don't know, the current form of government was approved by Franklin in 1978. In a few years, you will celebrate the 50th anniversary of your town charter, which is probably the most beloved town charter in Massachusetts. That is not an exaggeration. Amy can validate this too. Mark will as well. Every community across the state of Massachusetts is envious of the town of Franklin's town charter for its checks and balances, its brevity, its efficiency, and I know I get a couple eye looks on it, but it really is the one that most communities look to lead the way. Whoever had foresight back then, they may have been going around the country. Most people don't know this, but the form of government we have in Franklin is the predominant form of government in the rest of the country. We're a very unique state with a home rule amendment. There's a couple of commonwealths, and a lot of states use county forms of government, but the council, city council, town council, manager form of government is easily the most predominant form of government across the country. most people in our industry in Massachusetts, when we go to the national conferences, they go, how do you get anything done with town meeting? And they laugh at us, most towns in Massachusetts. They truly do. They're like, oh, you people are crazy with representative form town meetings. And in the case of the Wellesleys or the Arlingtons or other towns, you can be in town meeting for 3 weeks, every night.
Late,
For 3 or 4, yeah, right, 3 or 4 or 5 hour long meetings.
Yeah.
So, you know, whoever created this back in the 70s should probably have a statue someday or a picture somewhere, because they really did change the state for the better. Massachusetts is a home rule state. Not all cities and towns actually have a charter. In fact, the town I live in does not have a charter at all, and it's chaos. So a town charter is really your constitution. It's your system of checks and balances. And Franklin's about one of about a dozen or so communities in Massachusetts that have our form of government. A couple others that people may be familiar with, Barnstable does. The town of Randolph literally took almost all of Franklin's charter in the mid-'80s. Some recent examples are Amherst has a similar form of government, North Attleboro does. There are some that are getting a little bit of traction on this, but strangely enough, despite the inefficiencies of representative town meeting and town meeting, interestingly enough, many communities don't really consider this form of government at all. And so it's pretty rare, and Franklin's pretty unique. I included in the packet in 1984, which is very typical. Most communities go through a 5 or 10 year review after a town charter changes the form of government as drastically as Franklin did in 1978. And I included that report in the packet. I hope everybody read it. It's incredible read. Some people have said to me they even enjoy reading the documents over a martini, because there is some really good commentary in there from the majority and minority opinions. And I would note, as I know you guys know everybody that was in there, you and Debbie and everyone, a young Peter Padula was a member of the '84 Charter Commission, and he was part of, if you read his letter, as part of the minority report, I think we can see the grown-up Peter Padula right before our eyes about being very proud about what the town of Franklin is able to accomplish. The town, obviously, as everybody knows, grew. Back then in that system, you had it based on wards. And so when the town of Franklin grew rapidly in the 80s and 90s, at one point the town council got up to almost 19 members, I believe. 19. I don't even know how, it would have been the whole room. And I think Councilor Pellegrini, of course, if you read the 1995 report, was a member of that commission. And that's not uncommon after 10 or 15 years for a major redo again of a form of government. And the 1995 Charter Commission, which was chaired by Jim Dacey, and I mentioned it here, really represents the overwhelming majority of what the town charter looks like today. If you read today's town charter and the one that's in 1995, they're pretty similar. And as you can read on page 9 or 10, I put in quotes on the presentation, lead the way in bold-faced print. Jim Dacey's message is fairly sobering 30 years later. As I mentioned earlier, Franklin's charter is probably one of the most famous in Massachusetts. And when I read that letter from Jim, and I say, and read about his leadership, about leading the way, I think a lot of people who are affiliated with the MMA and many other communities know that Franklin really does lead in a lot of areas. And so I think Mr. Nutting, Mr. Dacey, a lot of folks that were on the commission back then, and many others would really say that in 1995 is really when the town of Franklin really changed the way that we work and collaborate today. And then there were a series of technical clarifications in the mid-2000s to 2014. A lot of those were based on some state law changes and some other clarifications, technical amendments. But the two major parts in that time frame was the major change was to go to the appointment ratification system for the treasurer collector. The town voted at the ballot after 2 tries to unelect the treasurer collector. And then in 2014, there was a non-binding question on the ballot regarding support for mayor, and that non-binding proposal was defeated nearly 2-1. So those really represent the most significant changes the last 20 years or so. I keep hitting the wrong button. So procedures to alter the town charter. There are 2 slides, and there are 2 choices. okay? The first choice is an elected charter commission. This is a very formal process, and the steps are outlined right up here. The process really starts with the signature of a petition to have an election for a commission. The charter commission question is a ballot question. You have to actually put the question on, do you want to have an elected charter commission? If the town votes yes, then you have the next part, which is then you have candidates run for the charter commission, like all of you are running for the town council, planning board, etc. And so this is a multi-year, this is a very long process.
Right.
It is not something that happens quickly. And the charter commissions under state law, I've referenced some of the sections up there, it's very prescriptive. The town council and the community has to appropriate a very significant budget item for them to conduct their business. If you go back to the charter commissions that Councilor Pellegrini and others served on back in 84 and 95, you'll realize they did almost like 2 to 3 dozen public hearings. They did a lot of work, and so it's required in the statute that you have to have a funded budget for the commission. And the interesting point to me was the council has 30 days. If that petition comes in, you have 30 days to certify that ballot question and put it on the ballot. Or you don't, you just do nothing and it still automatically goes on the ballot. So one way or another, it goes on the ballot. Why is it important that the council validate that question within 30 days? Well, the town council may say one day, we don't want to do a charter commission. And we're going to not do anything because we want our voice to be heard to the community, that we don't agree with this. I got to imagine, and I don't have a historical context, but I have to imagine that that is extremely rare. But we'll get to Saugus in a minute. And then the charter amendment is required to go before the voters at a ballot. Usually this is a choice that is used for really comprehensive structural changes to the entire organization. So some recent examples I put on there are Saugus, Amherst, and Framingham. Saugus is right now in the middle of going through a charter commission. And if you read up on the town, you will see that they've had some very, very challenging issues in the community for many years with some criminal behavior, and they've had a lot of problems. And so the community is going through something that Franklin probably went through back in the 70s. Why is no one showing up at town meeting? Our government isn't working. People aren't coming out. Our form of government is not working. And for many communities, like Framingham, they went to the ballot numerous times over decades. They used to have open town meeting with a population of like 80,000 people. But they could never get at the ballot. No ballot question when they tried to change their charter would ever pass. Until about 7 years ago, where they formally adopted the mayoral form of government. And so that's basically what they're in. And I'll just note, the town of city, well, now city of Framingham, they are a full city. Franklin is not. We're a hybrid form of government, which is very unique. But Framingham went to the full city model, and it really passed like 50.5% to 49.5%.
Yeah, it was close.
Barely passed.
Yeah, it was close.
So even though it wins and you have a new form of government, doesn't necessarily mean people are happy with it. Right? 49+% of the population there lost. So they never wanted this. So that's a very, very challenging endeavor to be in front of. And Amherst is, I think, the most recent that's actually adopted Franklin's form of government. And when Jeff was even here, and then after Jeff retired, we hosted Amherst several times in this town hall for them to talk to staff and understand the pros and cons to this type of form of government. As I noted, Franklin used this method in 84 and 95. There were ballot questions to form a charter commission. Number 2 are the procedures to alter the town charter is what's called an informal process. And it's still spelled out in Mass General Law, but essentially for simplicity's sake, because this is where there's some gray areas, is you would essentially set up an ad hoc subcommittee as allowed under the town's rules and procedures. And you essentially, any change that you would make, even if it's a nominal one or not, requires home rule legislation, to go through the legislature, or a ballot question. I want to make sure, and Mark, I know we'll get a brunt of the questions from people on this, but I hope I make it clear. This process here cannot be used to change your form of government. Okay? So if you wanted the composition of the council, if you wanted to add members, change the terms, the duties of the town administrator, or other significant structural changes to the legislative body, that's a much more substantial review that needs to be required. It is still possible to put through home rule legislation or do a ballot question on one of those. But at that point, if people wanted to move forward with those types of activities, we'd really have to work with the town attorney and likely also a consultant to really navigate the community on those structural changes. As many of you know, and Councilor Clegg certainly knows from being in those commissions, when you change your form of government, you're also changing your power centers, you're changing your organizational behavior, you're changing a tremendous amount of authority within the community, and those things can have huge impacts downstream that people don't think of. And I'll just use one for example, staggered terms. Right now you have an election every 2 years. It's been discussed in town for 40 years. But do people want an annual municipal election every year? That increases costs, you have to more election workers. Right. Does the public want to go out and vote for local elections more often? Maybe so, maybe not. And you really need to think through those dynamics. We know where the town clerk stands. Yeah. And people may not, in the community, may not want that much responsibility. This is a very psychological thing as much as it is any other nuts and bolts type of piece. So when you really get into the form of government issues, the community really has to think through and iron out what is that process and how do you want to go through it if you're really serious about changing something significant. I would note the treasurer collector, and as I point up here, this process has been used by the town of Franklin for almost 30 years. After the big change in '95, you did use this process to change some technical tweaks, but also use this process to change the treasurer collector position. Those are fine to go through this. Ultimately, at the end of the day, in all likelihood, you're going to do a ballot question. And one of the reasons why is because the home rule legislation has not been in recent years a given on Beacon Hill. And the reason why is because in the older days, you would submit a home rule bill from the town council or town meeting, and you would say, geez, town meeting voted for this, and the state representative would say, well, that's what my community wanted at town meeting, and they would try to get it done. Some of these issues become so political, and I mean this seriously for the respect to the reps and senators, then they get caught in the middle of sometimes some local disagreements. And so the trend recently has been kick it back out of the legislature, kick it back down to the local level. We're not going to do it this way because we don't want to be in the middle of this, and maybe the legislature won't vote that home rule through. Why don't you just go the ballot route? So ultimately, for all of our intents and purposes, most people should be thinking that whatever change people may think they want really needs to go to the ballot. So that's a summary of the two procedures, a little background on the history, and happy to entertain any questions from folks.
Thank you, Jamie. Mark, anything you want to add before I go to the council?
At the risk of contradicting the administrator, I won't do that. I'll clarify, and that's, you can't go with a structural, you cannot go to the ballot question on your own without going through that statutory charter commission process. By going to the legislature, they will give you essentially conditional approval. They'll approve it and authorize a ballot question. So you're short-circuiting the process in that respect.
Thank you. Councilor Frangillo, I think I saw your hand first.
Sure, yeah, thank you. First of all, great presentation. Just efficient, informative, that was good.
Good.
Don't always say that. That was a really good one. I guess my main question would just be what's substantive and not, and if you're willing to entertain a few of the common ones that come up as to whether they would need that first substantive. That would be helpful. I guess the easy one would be mayor. I imagine that's a substantive.
Yes.
Needs a district council, like if we went to district.
Any change to councilors in terms of their term, their authority, or the town administrator, or his term of authority, it's the.
Right,
it's
because that's a change of
specifically laid
authority.
out the exceptions in the statute.
Yeah, staggered terms,
Yep,
Yep.
substantive.
substantive, okay. And then the other is similar to treasurer, making the clerk an
That's
appointed
not-
and ratified. That one,
That's considered a minor revision.
got it. Okay. Those are the
By,
ones.
within statute. It's not, I just want to make
Yeah,
sure
yeah, yeah.
people, I want to make sure the public knows that this isn't Jamie or Mark's personal
Yeah,
opinion.
adding an
Seriously,
opinion, yeah.
this is not our personal opinions.
Yeah.
These are statutory.
Yeah,
I just want to make sure the public is aware that this is
Yeah.
statutory. Thank you.
that was it.
That-
Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Thank you, Councilor Frangillo. Councilor Sheridan?
I'm just curious, other than the using the word town, how are we hybrid?
By statute, you were known as the city, known as the town of Franklin. You have the most hybrid form of government in Massachusetts. Make another case in point. No other city form of government like this actually has a finance committee. So, nope, none of them have finance committees. So, Revere, all those forms, they don't have finance committees. We do. And I hope I speak for people. This is my personal opinion. The finance committee should stay and is an important part of our role, but it shows the traditional hybrid form of government where you have a finance committee. There's just one example, but we're literally called in statute the city known as the town of Franklin.
That's what I thought.
So that's I'll let Mark finish. He raised his hand. He's got a thought.
Go ahead.
There is actually case law that distinguishes what's a city from a town, and it's defined in terms of the legislative body. So a town does not have a sitting legislative body. They have to be called for special purposes, the annual or special town meeting, whereas anything else is considered a city. And if it weren't for the fact that by statute, representative town meetings are defined, they would technically and legally be considered a city form of government, because that's also a sitting legislative body in a representative town meeting.
Thank you. Councilor Sheridan? you still
Yeah, I
have the
just find,
floor.
I kind of find this stuff interesting. So in other states, it's my understanding, every community is technically a city, but they call it town depending on the size.
I think it would be unique to each state because there are cities with mayors of 1,000 people in
Right.
Texas.
Right.
So
That's what
each
I've always
state is
heard.
very different.
That a lot of places, the city and the town is based on basically on population, as what people call it, where Massachusetts is different by.
Is it 16,000, Mark? Is that the population threshold?
Attorney Sorrell?
Something, but also interestingly, and Jamie, you can confirm this, there's whole parts of the country where the operative form of government is the county
Right.
government.
Right.
There's in state law, don't quote me on formulas, but it's about 16,000 is the population. There's a threshold that you can't, Mike's gonna, hey, Mike.
I
Perfect
saw him
timing.
pop-
Oh, there he
I
is.
saw him pop up, so.
Mike, I gave you a little intro before you hopped on, but maybe you could help out with that answer. And just introduce yourself. Thanks, Mike.
Sure, thank you, Jamie. Thank you to the council president, other members of the council. Mike Ward, director of the Collins Center. I've managed the charter practice. I have another member of the charter practice, Anthony Wilson, here with me. Thank you for letting us attend and listen to this great charter discussion. I caught most of that presentation, and I thought it was really, really well done. To the immediate question on the table, I think was the what's the threshold under which a town cannot take a city form of government, and it's 12,000, and it's spelled out in the Home Rule Amendment to the Constitution. No municipality with a population under 12,000 can take a city form of government, and no town with a population under 6,000 can have anything other than open town meeting currently.
Wow.
Didn't know that.
And
Didn't
thank
know
you,
that
others.
either.
We're happy to be here, listen in, and take any questions related to charters. But this is a great discussion. I don't want to take up any more time than is needed.
Thank you, Mike. Councilor Sheridan, you still have the floor.
That's great, all set.
All set. Councilor Hamblin?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't really have a question because they're all answered in the presentation and Councilor Frangillo asked. But I did want to just mention that today I spoke to the ex-chair of the Natick Select Board, and she was like, just asked so many questions about our form of government and how lucky we were to be able to get stuff done. And it's really fun to be able to work with other people in other towns, and people really want what we have. So I just wanted to mention that today because it was really funny today that we had this discussion tonight. And so thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Hamblin. Councilor Chandler?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I have a comment and a question. Well, first, Jamie, it is fascinating. And I hope that everyone gets a chance to read, because if you go back to the 84 and everything they've done, it really is fascinating. I'm glad you brought that up. My comment first is, I just have to read this, because this came out of the charter. First and foremost, the Charter Commission has sought to enhance the role of the most important player in town government. You know what they say the most important player is? The voter. So I thought that was great. It is, the voter is the most important person. We all have to remember that. Now, this goes towards Mr. Sorrell and possibly Mike. You know, if you work for the town, you cannot run for office. I was just wondering from Mr. Sorrell maybe how much he thinks that's a conflict of interest, and maybe Mike can answer this, that, is that most towns do that, or is this a Franklin thing? Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I'll go to Attorney Sorrell.
That was a lot all at once.
First of all, I don't believe that's true. You can run for office if you've already got a town position. You just can't accept additional compensation, or you'd have to choose which compensation, if it was a compensated position.
No two salary.
No two salaries.
So, okay, quick clarification, Mr.
Sure.
Chairman. So again, like, say one of the new firefighters wanted to run for town council, they could just run for council?
They would then, as each individual thing came up, they would.
Just have to.
They would have to determine whether they then had a particular conflict. And what's really problematical in that situation is budgeting.
Right.
Because they wouldn't be able to touch not only the fire budget, to the extent there was an overlap, they might have to stay away from the entire budget.
That part I understand. I had that backwards then. I thought I was not allowed to run till I retired.
See all the fun you've been missing?
All right, good. I might have jump-started some people. Okay, thank you, Mr. Sorrell.
Okay, all set, Councilor Chandler?
All set, thank you.
Councilor Jones?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, that's because it's municipal employee rule. And
Councilor Jones knows it.
You basically have to already announce to the community that you're in this position prior to taking it. And correct me if I'm wrong, only because I've been through it. So, Mr. Chairman, through you, this is just a general question, and I think probably through you, either to the town administrator or to the town council. Since any changes to this document have to go through either one of the two things listed up there, could we still put together a discussion as part of the council to talk about the things that we would be interested in potentially having a commission or ballot question address prior to establishing the commissions and or ballot questions? So in other words, we could sit down and say,
we can always have a
here,
discussion.
and say, okay, these are the things that we think would be worthy for discussion for the commissions prior to establishing the commission.
The quick answer to your question is yes, we can.
So if we went through this ourselves and said, okay, this is something that we thought might need a change, we can just bring it up as a discussion item.
Exactly, and then if the council, if the consensus on the council was to go the next step, then we'd appoint most likely the subcommittee to review those items and come back with recommendations. That's how I say, am I wrong?
You're correct.
Okay,
Perfect. Just wanted to make that clear. Thank you.
okay. All set?
Sir.
Councilor Pellegrini.
I'm getting all kind of flashbacks.
Flashbacks, I'll bet you are.
Oh my God, from 1984, 85, all of this began. But before I ask some questions or follow-ups, one of the biggest questions that I always went to the schools to talk about the town. And I would ask them, do you know, is Franklin a city or a town? Oh, right away, you know, they'd get all excited, and I'd say, how many think that it's a town? No. How many think that it's a city? Well, I had to explain to them, we are the town known as,
The city.
we're the city known as the town of Franklin. Well, they couldn't get over that. And do I have to tell you how many phone calls I got from parents?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Why did you tell them this, that, you know, Franklin? I says, because it's the truth, you know, but it's very difficult for people to understand that, okay? I thought population, now, I could be wrong, had something to do with whether we became a city or a town.
That's what he just said.
That's what
You
Mike
have to-
just said.
Right,
Right, you have to have at least 12,000 people to go to a city form of government.
right, and under 6 would be for the town, 6%.
You,
Open
under-
town.
Under 6,000, you can only have an open town meeting form
Town
of
meeting,
government.
okay, all right. I
Is that
didn't know
correct?
some things had
That's correct.
changed from way back when, you know? And as far as running for office, I think we did have some people that ran for office way back then that were working for the town. We had Mr. Pisani,
Bobby
and we
Sousa.
had Chief Malloy.
Sure.
Who else did we have?
Was Arthur working or was he
No,
retired?
He wasn't working.
So,
Look at him and I both.
They're both
Go to
the
him
hands
first.
up.
see,
Go ahead,
at
Mark.
at one time, there was an issue statewide, and Mike, I'll defer to you as opposed to just Franklin, but at one time, I believe there was a prohibition in the ethics law on being able to be a town employee and even run for council, and there was an amendment to the ethics law that permitted it.
Right. I'm just going to,
Jamie?
through Mr. Chairman, I'm just going to, for the record, just because I know there's been Council Chandler brought up this question, and Council Pluggery did too. Just going to read it, because that's what we do. We go
Sure.
right to the eligibility, section 222. No town councilor shall, while a member of the town council, hold any other compensated town office or position.
Right.
No former town councilor shall hold any compensated appointed office or employment until 1 year after the expiration of service on the town council. This provision shall not prevent a town officer or employee who is taking a leave of absence from such duties in order to serve as a member of the town council from returning to such office or employment following service as a member of the town council. The last sentence is a little confusing, but I believe this is what Mark was just stating, and I think Mike's advice on this, whether this is standard stuff in town charters today, may be helpful. This may have been a technical amendment at some point to the charter to deal with changes in state law versus on ethics or other issues. Mike, is this a typical thing that is in most town charters these days? Is this a reference to the state law?
Go ahead, Mike.
I'm not sure, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm not sure if it's a reference to state law, but it does look pretty typical. We've seen language very similar in a bunch of other charters, so it doesn't strike me as being in any way outside the norm.
Okay, great. Hopefully that answers your question,
It does,
your comment,
it does.
Council
Okay,
Person.
Councilor Pellegrini,
Big
continue.
question when we were on the Charter Commission and that was the size of the council. And that certainly passed that it became the smaller council, which made all the sense in the world. But I think back then I was on the minority when I, and many others, wanted to have a smaller, staggered terms for the council. And talking to people on the outside, they all agree. Do you realize if you lose a whole council, right now, stop and think about it. If all of us were replaced by all new people, it's reinventing the wheel. All of these things that we've done and all that, yes, they can certainly read minutes and all, but that's not gonna happen. Over and over it would be. It would not be a good thing. So if we ever wanted to do anything like that, I would still be in favor of staggered terms for the town council and for the school committee, both. I think that they're both so important that we have to keep the stability and the background on each of these boards, and we have to pass it on. We have to pass it on like that. I have other things written here, but that's okay. We'll discuss it again, I'm sure.
Thank you, Councilor Pellegrini. Councilor DeLorco.
Brian kind of answered my question, but just so you know that 12 years ago, when I got on the council, I was actually coaching at Franklin High too. So you can volunteer and coach in another position as long as you don't get paid. As long as you don't get paid. So, because I was gonna get paid, and then I got called into the office, and I either had to not coach or just not get paid, so that does happen too, so, obviously I didn't get paid, so, just.
Thank you, Councilor DeLorco. Any other questions or comments from the council? Is there anyone in the audience that has a question? Max, please come forward. Name and address, please.
Where's Steve when you need him?
We don't know.
You did pretty good.
My name is Maxwell Marangelo. I live at 127 Central Park Terrace. Through the chair to Mike. I was curious whether you were familiar with the situation that Lowell happens with a sort of about representation in their at-large system, and if you could say whether, if you are familiar with it, whether it would have an impact on Franklin's system. And I could elaborate further if you need me to.
I'm a little bit familiar with it, but I don't know if I'd be able to comment on whether it impact Franklin without knowing more about Franklin's demographics. So I know Lowell was under, the Justice Department was pressuring, it might have been through a consent decree or some other mechanism. They were pressuring the city because it was an all-at-large council, and there were concerns that minority representation was not sufficient because of the structure of the council. So the city did change in maybe it was about 3 or 4 years ago to add district councilors. So it's now a mix of at-large and district. But without knowing more about the demographics of Franklin, I can't say whether it's whether the town would be at risk as Lowell was. I will say probably I'd have to look up the exact numbers, but I would think that a slight majority of cities would have a mix of at-large and district, followed by what you have, all at-large. And then there's actually one, Barnstable is all district. It's the only one that I'm aware of. But so you're not alone. There's many other cities that do have all at-large. And unfortunately, I'm sorry, I can't comment on whether you would be at risk without, sort of knowing the demographic makeup of the town and how that's broken down across the city, town.
So if I may add, I just want to be concerned, we have a large Indian population in town, and I'm worried about their ability to get represented on the council, and whether, having an at-large system might prevent someone from being able to get on a seat. So just something to keep in mind as you continue this process going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Max. Is there anyone else in council chambers with a question or a comment? Is there anyone out in Zoom land that has a question or a comment? Okay, seeing none, I guess what I'd like to do, since we have an election in another week, maybe we'd look to put this on as a discussion item early in our, or during, as we build goals in January.
Right.
That we make this a topic of that conversation as we build those goals. Attorney Sorrell.
I'd just like to comment on the prior speaker's concerns. It's not an issue as to the percentage of your population of a particular ethnicity or minority. It's how they're dispersed in the community. So if they're all in one area and then you get potential discrimination as opposed to
Right.
more of a homogeneous community.
Thank you, Attorney Sorrell. Okay, and I think I'm seeing consensus from the council that we'll look to this, to put this in with our goals when we build our goals in January. Okay, Michael, thank you very much for signing on and answering some of our questions.
Thank you for having us. We appreciate it. Good luck in any future charter efforts.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. We can't remember the last time this happened. We have no
I know.
legislation for action. Town administrators report. Migrant housing update.
Not even a PEG update for local,
Yeah.
contribution for.
I'm shocked.
Me
We'll
too,
probably get
actually.
3 at the,
Just a few highlights, Mr. Chairman. Just want to thank, Fire, Police, DPW, Board of Health, Library, just all of our town departments, Senior Center, and all of our town staff over the month of October. I know it was almost impossible, I think Councilor Hamlin might have, but it's almost impossible to go to every event our staff puts on. I just thank all of our staff so much for, this is a lot of extra work our team puts in. And when you see how many people show up at these events, it really is rewarding for them and us, and I just can't thank our staff enough for all of that. And just want to thank all the folks who came out to the Red Brick Schoolhouse ribbon cutting and the Schmidt Farm ribbon cutting and the Community Preservation Committee. And I also just want to highlight and thank Dean College, who I went to a show at their theater last Saturday, and it was unbelievable. The play that goes wrong, just incredible humor, just very Monty Python-esque, and just a thunderous applause in the theater over there. Just an incredible job. November 8th, next week, the Finance Committee will be hosting their meeting, monthly meeting, and that's where the FY24 budget amendment will be presented. The packet will be out this Friday. The good news is our new growth and our assessors did creep that up a little bit from what we talked about in October. We will still be seeing a budget downgrade in revenues in excess of $300,000. And just to make sure everybody is aware, there will be no negative impacts to the school district funding. And so we have found some other areas that we can trim the budget. But if folks are looking for those details, on November 8th, they can come to the Finance Committee meeting. And then on November 15th, the Town Council will be considering the FY24 budget amendment prior to the tax rate hearing on November 21st, Tuesday at 6 o'clock. So for those budget junkies out there and the folks that have had a couple months off from Budget Mania, it's back in November as it is every year. And just I want to thank all the staff for all of their efforts. So thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Oh, and the migrant housing update, I put it on the agenda. I forgot all of it. Well, I think it speaks to the update. I mean, right now, almost the entire hotel rooms are full, as I announced at the meeting a couple weeks ago. It's about 300 individuals, about 54 to 56 children thus far are enrolled in the school district. We did get some good information from the state this week, which has helped Kathy Liberty and the service providers over there. And we have our weekly call. And this week was a short call because things over at the hotel are doing pretty well. And it's a long-term process, like we all know, but very grateful to all the service providers and all the staff for putting in extra time, and especially the Interfaith Coalition, the Safe Coalition, the YMCA, the Food Pantry, Fish, all of the groups, the school district, the social service workers at the school district. Brittany Crosby started getting on the calls. And just want to thank everybody for their efforts in trying to address the needs of the folks over there. So far, so good. There is a website. We have a portal on the Board of Health webpage. If folks are looking on where to make donations, how to make donations, what types of donations, and if they're looking for dashboards on the population, the individuals over there, the Board of Health has a dedicated webpage. Just go right to the website, Board of Health, Migrant Housing, and all the information there is being updated by the Board of Health staff on a weekly basis. So appreciate the update and happy to, obviously I can answer any questions that folks may have on the housing update.
Jamie, I just have one question, because I thought maybe it might be part of your update, but I thought I read this week where Governor Healy is working with the federal government, federal legislators, on helping to find work for those migrant people that are looking to find work. And I know in the past it's been a question that we've all had, because they haven't been able to work. And I was wondering if, it was like page 2 of, rather than, I would have thought that would have been on page 1, and it wasn't. And then when you didn't address it, I'm wondering if I missed something.
You did not miss anything, Mr. Chairman. On November 13th, there is a so-called work clinic being proposed by the Department of Homeland Security, I believe, probably a couple federal agencies that deal with this issue. Details, the reason why I was on page 2 is because details were quite scant. There weren't really a lot of what time, where, how many people. Quite frankly, if I were doing it, I don't know why they're just not going to every why the federal government can't just go to every hotel.
Right.
I mean that would be a lot easier, cheaper, more affordable, and customer service friendly to our friends over there than making them schlep. We already have transportation problems, right? That's still the #1 issue. And I should have mentioned, and I didn't mention, Kathy Liberty did get a $10,000 grant from a nonprofit in Milford. Thank you, Kim. And she has already linked up a transportation provider to do non-emergency medical transportations for the folks up at the shelter. So again, thank you, Kathy, just for everything you do. On her own, worked it through Amy and I and had an award letter within a week. And so she's working on that. I've read that migrant families have to go to this place, which is still unknown, of where this clinic is. So there's a lot of logistics, Mr. Chairman. I think the positive is, like you were saying, at least there's some clinic in the works to hopefully get some bureaucrats on the ground here to help process some paperwork to allow some families to go out to work. But the details are still not out there, and we don't know exactly how many people are going to be able to participate. I don't think they're going to be able to service 30,000 people, so I don't know how that's going to work. And the last thing I'd say on that point was today, people may have seen that some advocacy groups did sue the governor over the right to shelter law. The judge did rule today that the governor does have the ability to set a cap on the right to shelter law. I do expect additional lawsuits and litigation on this issue. We don't know where that's going to go, and we still don't have word from the governor on exactly how a wait list works. But the judge did just rule a couple hours ago before we came into this meeting that the governor can have a cap. And so we'll see what trickles out from that. But I'm with you. I hope that work clinic works. And, if we can do anything locally to try to connect people here to that clinic, we will certainly do that.
Thank you, Jamie. Other questions or comments from the council? Okay, seeing none, we will move on to subcommittee reports. Capital has not met. EDC met this evening. Councilor Hamblin?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, the EDC met this evening before the full council. I apologize that we don't have any legislation for action yet from what we discussed. What we are talking about 40R, creating a new bylaw in overlay districts, and it's something that's going to take a little bit of time to get together. We've talked about it twice now, and whoever is on the council next term, hopefully will continue this discussion. It's very important. It's one of the recommendations from the Franklin for All project that we received. So we're really excited about it, and we'll just keep working. Right? Yeah.
Thank you, Councilor Hamlin. Master plan, Councilor Jones.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. We recently met on the 25th. We're going to be meeting, the Master Plan Committee is going to be meeting again on November 8th at 6:30. The scope, we've got a lot on our agenda for the night. Just by way of example, we have Bader and Barrett coming out to give a discussion on giving us an update on existing conditions and inventory, as well as finalizing the survey that we hope to have out to the public as soon as it's approved by the Master Plan Committee on the 8th. We will be talking about story map ideas, which is a pretty cool idea that's made it across our plate. Other than that, that's it, Mr. Chairman, for the Master Plan.
Thank you, Councilor Jones. Davis there, nothing to report, haven't met. Police Station Building Committee has not met. GATRA, Councilor Frangillo.
Yeah, so GATRA itself has not met yet, but we did finally get confirmation that one of the pieces that we approved in our budget has been fully implemented, and we are free to advertise. And that's 3 things, 2 of which were already being done before, and 1 that was added. And those are free rides to and from the Franklin Senior Center to Franklin residents, $1 off all rides for Franklin residents, and now free rides to and from the Franklin Food Pantry. All of those are live. Yeah. And much kudos to the council. I mean, those are things that we had money for from the state, and we chose as a council to codify that and keep that practice going, even without the state funding. So I'm excited to put a graphic together and really get that out to the community.
Thank you, Councilor Frangillo. Okay, moving on, future agenda items. Councilor Sheridan.
I'm not jinxing it.
Councilor Frangillo.
Ditto, yeah.
Councilor Hamlin.
Nothing at this time, thank you.
Councilor Cormier Ledger.
Nothing at this time.
Councilor Chandler.
Nothing at this time.
Councilor Pellegrini.
Nothing at this time.
Councilor Jones.
No, sir.
Councilor DeLarco.
Nothing.
Moving on, Councilor comments. Councilor Cormier Ledger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just want to say what an honor it's been serving with this panel for the last 2 years. I know tonight's our last night, and we go before the voters next Tuesday, so best of luck to everyone, and hopefully see you on the other side. But it has certainly been a great experience, and I'm very proud of everything we've accomplished these last 2 years. So best of luck to everyone.
Thank you, Councilor Cormier Ledger. Councilor Chandler.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, thank you. Obviously, I think everyone's going to say this. Hopefully, everyone comes out and votes. I was looking at the names on Zoom, and I always see all those people at the polls, so I'll be seeing them on Tuesday. And one nice thing, it's getting a little cold, but last week I was walking around downtown, and Dean, the flowers that they put out there, you got to check it out. They're so, I mean, it's really nice. Like, it just made the whole walk just very nice. I know a lot of people aren't into flowers, but they were the Dean colors, and it was just, it just made it nicer. So, anyway, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Chandler. Councilor Pellegrini.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to give kudos to the senior center for all their new furniture that they have there. This was from the water damage that they had back months ago. And I guess some money had come in and was set for this. They don't have it all there yet, but it looks great. And you know, the people there that I talked to, it's so comfortable and it looks good and really worked out very, very well. Everybody's going to say about the election, absolutely. to remind voters to go out there. I'm always afraid, and when I was clerk too, that when there weren't many races, you didn't get many people out. But it's so important to get out there and check off that ballot box, cut the square there, and just vote. It's so important. And I want to say also, same as Tim. I know it. I call him Tim. Ted.
It's a running joke.
It's a council joke.
That it's been a pleasure to work with everyone. I'll tell you, I think this council has just done a wonderful job. When you take a look at the goals and that we had and we've accomplished so much. Jamie is dying over there.
He's laughing at Tim. He's laughing at Tim.
We're going to change his name. Would you get paperwork ready?
We changed the ballot.
Oh, God. But it's been a pleasure to work with everyone. I think we're all work very well together. And as I said, we've accomplished so much too. So good luck on Tuesday. We will see you out there. And that's it.
Thank you, Councilor
Thank you.
Pellegrini. Councilor Sheridan.
Nothing at this time.
You really don't want to jinx it.
Councilor Frangillo.
All right, a few events, and I'll try to go in order. This Sunday, I'm really excited. My subcommittee of the master plan is doing a tour of a whole bunch of key Franklin facilities. We're starting at Horace Mann, talking with the schools, police, DPW, fire, library. I can't believe it's all coming together on our bikes. So we can also experience what it is to bike around Franklin as we go into the master planning process. So I'm very excited about that. That's November 5th, 9 a.m. at Horace Mann, if you want to join by bike. All right, 3 events next week. Vote. Then on November 8th, we have the Fall Health Fair. This is an absolute blast. This is at the library. There's a whole bunch of vendors and health services. So if you want to, get to know the different health services around, or just have fun with the kids, really fun time. 3 to 6, November 8th at the library. The next day, on the 9th, we have the Best Conservation Commission, and they have 2 events next week. One is the 9th, 2 to 3. They will be walking River Bend Conservation Area on Lincoln. That's at 2 p.m. on Thursday. And then on Sunday at 10 a.m., they're walking Delcart, and there'll be apple cider and donuts and doing a guided nature walk of Delcart. That's 10 a.m. on Sunday. Huge kudos to the Conservation Commission and the conservation agent, Bree Galai. That's been a lot of fun, all the events that they've got going. That's it.
Thank you, Councilor Frangillo. Councilor Hamblin?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, I would like to send my condolences to Councilor Sheridan and his family over their loss, the recent loss. I would like to thank everyone who was at the Schmitz Farm ribbon cutting. It was quite fun for me, and I didn't cry too much, but it was pretty good. Library trunk or treat, that was amazing. Firehouse, thanks to the firefighters for their open house. The police Halloween party, I think, this past weekend. Was it just this weekend?
Yeah,
it was
awesome.
just amazing. And everybody worked so hard on those things, so thank you, everyone. And also, I would like to thank everyone out there for allowing me to serve Franklin for you. And hopefully we'll see everybody that will come out to vote. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Hamblin. Councilor Jones?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Unfortunately, I wasn't at the Schmitz Farm ribbon cutting because it was during the day and I had to work. One of the things I would like for the next council is to set major events like this on days when the councilors actually have the capacity to be there for these major events like the ribbon cuttings. That I was very disappointed I couldn't make that event. But on a good note, I want to congratulate Tri-County Regional Vocational Technical High School on their success on the building going through. It had the 11 communities, of 11 Senate communities, of all the voters that came out to vote, 62.5% of them voted in the affirmative to build the new Tri-County Regional Vocational Technical High School building. And one of the things that I'm particularly proud of is that all of the voters from the town of Franklin, 80% of them voted yes for the new high school. That is a great success. And Jamie, who you said earlier, you went to the play at Dean, that was the play that went wrong. That was actually my son's first official play at Dean. He wasn't in the play, he was there as technical support as a freshman, so he hasn't yet got a major role in anything, but he was there nonetheless as tech support. That was his first play.
Incredible
My wife went to see it, and the kids went to see it, and said it was absolutely hysterical. So, other than that, God bless everybody. We hope to see everyone on the other side of, like Ted put it, on the other side of the fence, this time on Wednesday the 8th. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Jones. Councilor DeLoco.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I kind of totally agree with Councilor Jones on the next time around, try to make it, because the people that work during the day can't make the ribbon cuttings, and you do kind of get upset, and kind of bummed out that you can't make it, you know what I mean? And Councilor Sheridan, I do want to send my condolences to you and your family. You know, and I want to thank the voters. Obviously, this will be the 12th year. We're going to go into the 14th year, right, Tommy? We came on together, hopefully, and it has been an honor working with everyone. It's awesome. I think we get along great. I think we do the right thing. I think, you know. I hope we do, you know, and hopefully we'll see everybody on the other side. And I would like to, because he was a friend of my dad, so I'm gonna have to say happy birthday to Bobby Catalano, because he turned 101 yesterday.
That's right.
So I think my father would kick me in the butt if I didn't say happy birthday to him, so. That's it, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor DeLoco. I have a few, obviously, condolences to Councilor Sheridan and his family on their recent loss. As well, congratulate Tri-County on their successful vote of passing the building of a new high school. But I want to take just a minute. People have spoken about the ribbon cutting at Schmidt's Farm and the celebration of this sitting council of purchasing over 200 acres of open space land and having that ribbon cutting then. And, you know, we'll look at the future.
Yeah, that's fine.
Make it during times when everybody could make it. But that was just such a tremendous day for me as a counselor and me as a resident.
It's a testament.
Just to see, to get that done. And as well, moving into the weekend, I was never more proud of our community and our staff, our team in Franklin. I went to the fire department, had their open house, and they not only had all the fire department pieces of equipment out, but they had hoses set up where the kids could hold a hose.
Play.
They had state police on horseback there. They had the state police dogs there as well. They had a flyover by the Medflight helicopter that hovered over the fire station. So I just thought it was a tremendous event for the community. And then I, like others, went up to the trunk or treat up at the library, which was a great event. They were parking at Davis there and walking up School Street. And the line was halfway down School Street to get into the trunk or treat. And when you walk through, and you know, another small plug for Dean, the president of the college has got one of their
He was.
vans decorated and handing out candy. So,
he was handing it
I thought
out.
that was a great thing and a great piece for Dean, again, trying to change the image and making Dean, as it should be, part of our community. Then from there to the police station and seeing all the people, all of our police.
Dressed up.
Dressed up, some of them in
Yeah.
costumes maybe they shouldn't have been in.
I know.
But the great costumes and the great work, I mean, hour and a half and they were out, running out getting more hot dogs. Ran out. Obviously, part of it was, it
The
was
weather.
such a beautiful day. It couldn't have been better for all three of those events, but I can't thank the police department, the fire department.
great,
The library, all of the people that have been putting on these events, the DPW had Touch a Truck, all of those things, opening up the town to the community, giving the community an opportunity, and they're taking advantage of it. And I just think that that's absolutely wonderful. And lastly, just a brief statement about the election. Folks, anybody out there who's listening, this is the most important election for you as a resident of Franklin. Because it is the people that you're electing on Tuesday that are actually spending your tax dollars. So please, come out and vote. And I, like every one of my fellow councilors, I thank every one of you for the work we've done over this last 2 years has been phenomenal. And I think the recent report showing all of our goals, at least 90% of them being accomplished, and the other few just being worked on. So I thank every one of you for your support, for the work you've done, for the work we've all done, and I look forward to the future.
Just have one thing to add if I could, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, I completely forgot. We didn't thank the Lions Club for hosting their amazing decorating contest throughout town.
That's true.
And they, had 40 houses participate, 20 houses get judged. It was a wonderful thing for the community. I just would be remiss if we didn't thank them for putting that on, so thank you.
Thank you. Okay, seeing no further business, I would entertain a motion.
So
to
moved.
adjourn. Non-debatable. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
All right.
Motion carries.
Thank you, everybody.
See you again.
Thank you.